Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to do my best to share this important information with you as quickly as possible of how to truly discover and start living your life purpose. This video is going to be not very philosophical, but straight to the point. Like, these are the boxes you need to check off. And these boxes I speak of, they come from not only my own personal experience, which is very well documented on YouTube, but in coaching thousands of people over the last decade. I've worked with so many people years ago that were just in this like limbo state, not knowing why they're here or what they're destined for. And then I would maybe meet them a year or two later at a retreat or see them online or something, and they're living their purpose. And I've just seen really a lot of examples, and I just can't help but have these observations and notice the trends, the themes of, oh, these are the things people did to get here. And this video is going to be about those things for you. Number one, I'm going to come out of the gates with something that a lot of you probably don't want to hear, but it's true. You have to clean up your messes first. And it can be confusing because once you start going through a spiritual awakening, you do start to develop kind of an awareness about your life purpose, even though it's not really quite time. There's a lot of things you, like, realistically will have to do to start living it, even though you can kind of feel it. You can kind of feel that resonance with a particular idea or something. And for me, it was like, I had that knowingness. I'm going to be helping people transform themselves, possibly spiritually. That was like, 10 years ago I had that kind of knowing, but there's a lot I had to do. My wife and my family and I were living in the wrong house, in the wrong neighborhood, in the wrong state. I was in the wrong job. I still had unresolved, I would say, karma to deal with. I had a lot of important lessons I had to learn about myself through interacting with my parents and my family and my community, and it just wasn't time. But I had to do all those things because those things, those messes, they helped me really discover who I was. And sometimes it can really feel like quite a mess. I'll give an example. A lot of you have heard me talk about pursuing this YouTube channel. That was a big part of my purpose at some point. And I had this medical marijuana grow operation. That was my job at the time. It was in my basement. My whole basement was literally a grow room that I built. I had different rooms, and it was like a whole laboratory for a weed grower, basically. And there came a point where I knew I had to stop doing that, and I did. I shut the lights off and I killed the plants. And that freed up some mental bandwidth to pursue my calling. But what I did never really explain to you is I just sort of neglected that grow room for a while. And what happened is all the plants started to decay, and there were spiders and webs, and I had all these big reservoirs of nutrients that in the water, and it would smell, and it was like, I can't really do much with this YouTube. I know I got to clean up this mess, and it was a literal mess. It took me like a week or two of hours a day going down there and taking down the walls, taking the nails out, loading up the wood, cleaning everything, organizing everything, getting things ready to be sold. It was a laborious thing that I didn't want to have to do. I wanted it just to be gone from my reality, but I had to clean up my mess first. And here's kind of the cool thing, actually, that I came to find about cleaning up your mess, which sounds just like a boring, unpleasant job, is in cleaning up my mess, I found that because it was connected to me moving forward with my life purpose, it was a necessary step, it turned out to be kind of a good time, even something as mundane of cleaning up a basement. I would go down there and I would listen to audiobooks or play some rock and roll music, and I would, as I'm breaking down these 2x4s that were creating these walls I had built, I was in the flow, man. Even though what I was doing on paper sucked, I felt fucking amazing. So don't shy away from cleaning up the messes, my friend. It's part of it. And you might find, as it did for me, it's like a huge source of inspiration and clarity for that next thing. Number two is you do have to do enough inner work. I wanted to be on YouTube well before I could have, and actually had something clear to share. I had too many of my own distortions. I had too many of my own unresolved issues that even with my best attempt, they were just too much for what I am and what I had to share to realistically come through in an effective way to really help other people. I couldn't avoid my relationship conflicts. I couldn't avoid all the different types of leaps into the unknown and letting goes and lessons and hard lessons. I had to do that. I had to take my inner work seriously. I couldn't just obsess about finding my purpose. I had to do breath work and plant medicine and different healing things that worked for me. I had to take my inner work very seriously and go through a several year period of cleansing and catharsis and healing that still continues, by the way, to this day, if anything, with more earnestness than before. But I had to do enough of it so that what I had to share could actually come through clearly. So if you're really feeling down about yourself, man, I know I have this purpose, and Vic's always sharing about going for it, and I want to go for it, but it doesn't feel like the right time. I can't. That's okay. Maybe you're in these earlier stages where you have some messes to clean up. That's okay. There's always a mess, because as we're going through life, we're always letting go of something. Or maybe you still have some lessons to learn, and there's a reason why you're in your life. Don't worry, the purpose is going to come. And once you find it and start living it, you're going to be flying high, and it's awesome. But you can't shortcut this hero's journey that I wish I could have. I tried to, and it never worked. It always brought me back to the moment where life was saying, you need to look at this first. You're not looking at this. Look at this, and don't worry. You can rest assured it's connected to that. Number 3, you have to fail a whole bunch of times. Oh my goodness, Victor, this purpose journey is seeming less appealing as you go on. I have never met a single person, maybe you have, I'd be curious, that all of a sudden had some light bulb burning bush moment, and then all of a sudden all of their soul's talents were just there, and they had this sort of flawless, joyful execution of it. That to me seems like it's not what I've observed on earth, and it certainly wasn't the way I rolled with it. And it was kind of cool. Just yesterday, I saw my 6-year-old going through this. Yesterday, we were in this Airbnb in Sedona. My 6-year-old, Sebastian, found some dominoes and some Jenga pieces, those little things made out of wood. And he was combining them, making these structures, structures. He spent 6-8 hours building these things. It was so cool. Anyway, he got to this point where he was building it in a certain way, and even though it took a lot of time, he was very meticulous with it, the roof just kept collapsing because he wasn't putting the right, enough support in the middle. And you could see he would try over and over and over again. And the more his structures fell, the more pissed off he got. And at one point, my wife was trying to assist him and give him, steer him in the right direction, and he was just freaking agitated. And that sting, that agitation of failure, it in my experience, it can't be avoided, because you just have to learn, because we just aren't given all the answers. We're given the inspiration, the knowingness that, this is our thing, but it's up to us as human beings to just keep practicing and keep trying, keep failing, and keep learning until we finally get it. And Sebastian got it a few hours in, and now he's got these cool things he makes, and he's so proud of himself. And to me, that was inspiring and a good example of how this journey can tend to go. And it was kind of cool. They got to see me doing the same thing yesterday. Even after, over 1,000 videos and being, fairly comfortable in this setting, they watched me yesterday attempt a video multiple times. And I was like, you know what, guys, it's just not coming through. And they were like, yeah, I could tell. They could tell it wasn't my best video. But my other son, Lucas, said something along the lines of, It's pretty interesting, Dad, because people don't see all these mistakes. They just see your good videos, and that's the truth. And you wouldn't see these better videos if I didn't have all those mistakes, if I didn't have that amount of practice in. And what I've learned is that over the years, I've become a lot more patient with myself and just understand the value and the necessity of these quote unquote failures that so many let stop them from doing what they want to do in life. And this last one is more important for when you finally get going on your purpose. It's not to get lost in it. When you start to witness yourself channeling, expressing from a deeper place within yourself, it's very tempting, in my experience, for the ego to want to take credit. And then then your purpose becomes enmeshed in like the ego structure, and therefore it becomes tainted and in a sense doomed to run into some type of humbling learning lesson from the universe that I've experienced many times. So what I've learned is that to really live that life of purpose, it requires increased levels of humility and trust and letting go and not being attached to the results. And I'll give an example of something I'm working through currently. I shared about it in a video I shot before this one, an energy update. I was discussing how I feel called to write a book. And many of you have heard me talk about it. And this is actually a good case in point for everything I said in this. I tried writing the book a couple years ago, and I couldn't. I couldn't because it was so hard, so stressful, so triggering to my identity and to my ego that I would say I had interspersed periods of just complete blockages where I just even if I tried it, I would try, and what I wrote was so distorted by my own issues, it was just unusable. And that wasn't me being hard on myself, that was the facts. And then I would have times where I just channeled this awesome thing, but then my ego got so attached to it that it needed it always to be that good. And it just, then my ego's inflation became another type of barrier. And it just got to this point where neither were helpful, and it just wasn't time. I had some of my own lessons to learn still, apparently, about a year or two of healing. I had to adjust my life. Didn't have the time or space in my life to do this thing. But now I do. And I'm going to go back at it again. And maybe this video for some of you folks is to help you take the pressure off yourself if you relate to the earlier points. And for some of you, maybe you relate to what I just said, and you know, hey, it's time to go for it again and to give it another try. Just because you failed one time doesn't mean you're going to fail again. And of course, maybe that failure gave you something you needed to help you finally do it right this time, and things finally click into place. So as you can see, my friends, it's a very difficult topic to talk about. But these few things I found to be in everybody's story that I've witnessed this, I would say, successful execution of the life purpose in. People had to dislodge themselves from the situations in their life weighing them down. There's no getting around that. People had to grow and mature emotionally and spiritually. People had to fail. Every purpose case I've witnessed, people are failing left and right, attracting what seem to be these cruel learning lessons from the universe. And the people still rocking and rolling are the ones that have stayed humble and not got too inflated by witnessing themselves sharing their magic with the world. So anyways, my friends, that's just my observation. And I wanted to share with you because I really believe this year is a very big year where a lot of folks are going to be starting on this path, and hopefully this can help you in some way. With that said, I'm going to bounce, got to go. Have an amazing day. Much love.